Good morning, everyone. Love the energy. Allow me to establish protocol and welcome Cayman Enterprise City CEO and Director of Enterprise Cayman, Charlie Kirkconnell, judges, participants, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2025 Cayman Islands Business Design Competition, produced by Enterprise Cayman and sponsored by Cayman Enterprise City. My name is Lloyd Barker, and I'm thrilled to be your host again for this year's Business Design Competition. A reminder that we are live streaming today's event, so please be sure to turn your phones on silent as we get ready to learn about some exciting new business ideas, and we encourage everyone to tag us on social media using the handle @Enterprise Cayman when posting. Please note that during the pitch presentations, only the panel of judges will be invited to ask questions. However, if you're in the audience and have questions or would like to connect with any of the teams, we encourage you to stay for networking after the event. Our finalists will be available and happy to chat. And at this time, I'm pleased to welcome to the stage to say a few words, Charlie Kirkconnell, CEO at CEC and Director of Enterprise Cayman.
Morning, everyone. Morning, and thank you very much for being here. I'm Charlie Kirkconnell, CEO at Cayman Enterprise City, and I'm actually chairman of Enterprise Cayman, so I don't want to get that unless I got downgraded, I'm not aware. And with protocol already being established, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 5th annual Enterprise Cayman Business Design Competition Pitch Day. CEC is delighted to be the lead sponsor of this event, with Enterprise Cayman being our nonprofit organization focused on workforce, entrepreneurship, and community development initiatives. As part of this, we have developed and continue to develop a platform where innovators can connect, and we offer a welcoming business environment that truly fosters innovation. And it's a place where individuals, local businesses, and global ventures can thrive. Specifically, our innovation ecosystem now includes Launch Lab Studios, which is a dedicated space and series of workshops designed to help early stage innovators continue to refine and advance their projects. We also offer a new feature, well, somewhat new and ramping up, the Cayman Islands Investment Angel Society, which is designed to be a potential source of pre-seed investment for local projects. And something very new, which we will be launching shortly, is going to be the Cayman Islands Venture Founders Society, which we hope that all the projects you will see here today and any other interested founders will join. Before we begin, I'd like to thank our volunteers in broad terms. There are just too many to mention individually, so if you will direct your attention to the screens over here, these are our volunteers, without which none of this will be possible. In particular, I'd like to thank Enterprise Cayman event lead, Alyssa Manderson, who has done an incredible job again this year. And if you give a round of applause, we'd appreciate that. For clarity on what the business design competition is all about, this is an Ideate stage program designed to help people with ideas progress their idea to the validated business idea stage. So what you will see here today are not finished products, but the results of dedicated and determined entrepreneurs taking their first step towards turning their idea, their dreams, into reality. So the amount of effort that, we put a lot of effort into putting this program on, the amount of effort that goes into actually advancing their idea on the project side is dwarfs that. And in advance of them coming out here and giving it their all, I'd like for everyone, if we could give them a round of applause for their effort. And finally, thank you to the Enterprise Cayman and the CEC teams that have worked behind the scenes very, very hard to produce this program, again, led by Alyssa. And thank you to everyone here today and to those tuning in online. Thank you very much for your support, and please enjoy. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Charlie. Now, ladies and gentlemen, throughout the 6-week-long competition, our group of finalists have worked tirelessly to develop and validate their brand new business ideas. They took part in a series of intensive workshops, they've met with project advisors, and have attended networking events to further grow their support networks. Each competition finalist will receive a business support prize pack valued at over $8,000, which includes legal sessions, marketing support services including professional headshots, reduced rate of incorporation, business development and outbound support, continued mentoring support for award winners, networking events, special discounts, scholarships on courses, a complimentary Launch Labs Studios membership, and access to CEC's Angel Investor Network. Thank you to our prize pack sponsors, Cayman Enterprise City, Zeal, HSM, Email Chaser, Emerge, HubSpot, and the Cayman Islands Investment Angel Society. This year, the competition boasts 5 awards and $18,000 in cash prizes. Winners of the Sustainability Award, Innovation Award, and the Community Impact Award will receive cash prizes of $2,000 and complimentary marketing support. Thanks to JB Advisory Services, eShore, and Zeal. And the winner of this year's business design competition will receive complimentary incorporation of their company from HSM, complimentary marketing support thanks to Zeal, 5 complimentary mentoring sessions thanks to Emerge, and the grand prize, an unrestricted cash prize of $10,000 thanks to Cayman Enterprise City. I would also like to invite you, our audience members, to vote on this year's People's Choice Award, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. And this applies for those in the audience in person and those on the live stream as well. Voting details can be found on your program and will also be displayed on the screen at the voting time directly following the pitches today. Before we invite our finalists to the stage, I would now like to introduce our panel of judges. With us this morning is returning judge Richard Dyer, co-founder of Massive Media. And new to the stage this year, we have Gannon Rutti, business development manager at Hurley's Group. We also have Vladimir Schubert, entrepreneur and 2021 competition finalist. We have Matt Vaughn, Managing Director of FetchTech, SEZC, and Venture Investor, and Antoline Williams, Deputy Director of the Cayman Islands Center for Business Development and 2021 competition finalist. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for your judges. Audience members, we have 10 teams pitching today. Each team will have 5 minutes to present their ideas to our lovely panel of judges. And judges will have 5 minutes to ask questions. Our timekeeper here at the front will let us know when the 5 minutes has been reached. We'd like to ask you to hold off any and all applause until after each individual or team has completed their pitch to the judges. It's the 2025 Cayman Islands Business Design Competition. Let's begin. And now, I'd like to introduce our first finalist. Please welcome Access Mind, an instant online dyslexia assessment by expert tutors. Affordable, accessible, and tailored to your needs by Brandon McBride and Amelia Kemp.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, hi, I'm Brandon.
And I'm Amelia.
We are AssessMind, making remote diagnostic learning assessments fast, affordable, and accessible to all. Okay, so I'd like you to raise your hand if you know someone who is affected by a learning difficulty such as dyslexia. Okay, so pretty much all of you. Well, around 10 to 15% of the global population, around 1 billion people, are neurodiverse. Yet most remain undiagnosed or misdiagnosed due to a lack of accessibility, long wait times, and high prices.
One of those 1 billion people is my stepdad, who is diagnosed with dyslexia. We've seen firsthand the confidence and clarity that can bring. However, if he grew up somewhere remote, like the Cayman Islands, it might not have been possible. Assessments here can range from $4,000 to up to $10,000, not to mention the 9-month waiting list, which can push families to go overseas with further hidden costs such as flights and hotels. Some families simply cannot afford this. If he did not go diagnosed, he may not have had the support and guidance he had to pursue his education and career. We are here to change that.
As you can see from the chart, this is a case across the globe, with a shortage of local trained professionals, increase in prices and wait times for an assessment. The current system is fragmented, expensive, and geographically limited. Therefore, there is a clear global need for a more inclusive, affordable, and scalable solution, one that brings qualified professionals directly to the people who need them, regardless of location or income.
We understand the process of being diagnosed is a very sensitive and personal journey. That's why trust needs to be at the front and centre. That's why we went for a market-based approach, so they can pick from a pool of verified assessors. Also, from the user flow on screen, we've tried to streamline our end-to-end solution to make it stress-free for our users from the comfort of their own home.
There are competitors operating in this space, offering both remote and in-person assessments. However, our fully remote global marketplace system is a unique solution. Assessors set their own prices per assessment rather than the company. This, coupled with our reduced fee per transaction, reduces costs compared to the established companies. Our model is also flexible, with assessors setting their own schedules rather than adhering to normal business hours. So they can accommodate for working parents and students across the world in different time zones. Rather than being domestically focused, AssessMind is designed to operate across borders. And it's this flexibility that can significantly decrease prices and wait times for assessments. The benefits of having an assessment include improved exam accommodations, workplace accommodations, and increased funding.
We've had an exciting few minutes working on our minimal viable product. The key features include profile creation for both the users and the assessors with a verification process. We have a global marketplace of assessors that users can pick based on preferences in terms of language, price, and time zone. We have integrated booking and payment system, a built-in video conferencing, and also secure reporting and feedback.
Our revenue model is relatively simple, making a transaction fee of 25% per assessment. This is lower than our competitors identified, therefore reducing assessor overhead, while our platform provides them with a global reach and complete autonomy over their prices and schedules. Our model is lean and built for high margin, long-term profitability due to low operational costs and a lack of physical infrastructure needed. As we develop our platform to include follow-on tutoring, an online screening tool, advertising, and other diagnostic assessments, there is a potential for increased recurring revenue too. We've taken clear steps to validate the market for our product. For example, we're in active contact with 10 UK universities who represent around 200,000 students to promote our products, which they preliminarily agreed to. Dyslexia West Midlands, an in-person clinic in the UK, have agreed to refer assessments that are more suitable for our platform, for example, due to location.
We also have 4 to 5 verified assessors ready to sign up through previous work experience, but also through LinkedIn recruitment as well. So what's next for AssessMind? We are actively seeking funding through the educational and technical industries, and we also want to partner with charities and educational industries globally.
AssessMind is a unique, validated and scalable solution, and we aim to become the world's go-to marketplace for online diagnostic assessments. Join us in making assessments truly accessible.
Thank you.
So thank you for that presentation, and thank you for going first and getting the kinks out of the way. So I liked your statistics that you had on the students. You said 93% of students surveyed said they would love this product. I'm curious if you did the same sort of thing for the assessor side, because I'm curious what incentives they have to sign up and join the platform, because I know the fees are going to be reduced. So are they going to be making less money? Is it going to be more convenient for them? I'm curious if you guys had that same survey.
Yeah, so we haven't quite done the survey, but from the initial reaction that we have when we're reaching out to assessors and from recruiting through LinkedIn, basically, they're really keen to sign up to our platform because we offer reduced transaction fees on the assessments. So they're making more per the assessment rather than they usually would. And also the increased flexibility from our platform, where they don't have to follow normal business hours. They can work on their weekends, they can work in the evenings, or maybe just do a bit of freelancing on the side. They don't have to, be doing it full time. So it suits assessors that want that flexibility as well.
Thank you.
Great job, guys. It's lovely to kick off the morning with a mission-driven business. So on the supply side, right, you've got, I guess, some level of regulation or certification that you'll check and go through, particularly if it's a remote provision of services, say, from the UK to here. Have you looked at what sort of those hurdles are, those barriers are, and are there any sort of regulatory things you need to get across?
Yeah, so, we're in kind of a connection with Dyslexia West Midlands in the UK, and they've agreed to screen our assessors initially to make sure they have the qualifications necessary to be able to complete these assessments. We also are aware of the potential sort of data constraints. So currently on our minimum viable product, we're hosting the data with Amazon, but we also have, say, a legal disclaimer just to kind of cover us with any data regulations and how the data will be stored.
Yeah, I guess, well done. Yeah, going first side, and you've done a really good job, actually. It's really well put together. It's good background research and network you've already reached into universities and assessors. I had a couple of thoughts/questions. I guess from my ignorance, is dyslexia assessment, is it standardized across all the world? Like in Europe and America and Asia, is the establishment of dyslexia standardized?
So the US and the UK are quite standardized. However, with the US, they need to be signed off by an educational psychologist. Whereas in the UK, they can be signed off by a specialist teacher or an educational psychologist. However, the format kind of flows in the same way. So we also have, I think it's 20 educational psychologists ready to sign up to our platform. And the rest are specialist teachers. So, we are able to meet the US market demand as well. Where we're looking to develop further would be, say, in the future, if we were to go into maybe Europe, say France and Spain, they have slightly different, formats, but we'd have to kind of research more on that and try to understand what steps would necessary to be taken, and would there have to be any changes to our pre-assessment questionnaires to be sent out to the students.
Okay. I've just got to follow up, and I do like to talk. I'm really sorry. But in terms of, there was a couple of things. The 93% of students willing to pay for something, I'd probably take that out of your pitch deck. There's no way 93% of students are willing to pay for anything. So I would be worried about using that statistic. And then for future use, I could see this being used in other applications. I'd be interested if you thought about that. It doesn't seem like it would only apply to dyslexia. And also, you mentioned Europe, because then surely other languages has to be then another easy growth area for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. We understand that it's absolutely a journey. You get diagnosed, it doesn't stop there. So we want to go, as we expand, we want to do further counselling, tutoring, all within the system as well. So that's one of the goals. But we also want to expand into other diagnostic assessments as well. But again, it's such a niche area. We need to do some more research and development on that.
Of the assessors that are ready to sign up to our platform, we already have multiple languages, including Spanish, French, Arabic, I think Mandarin too. So, we are covering, a fair few bases already, but that's definitely a growth area for us and somewhere we'd look to expand into.
Anything else?
I'd be curious to know how you got to the $500 pricing. Like, did you notice that, your customer experienced price sensitivity? Because the normal assessment is what, four to 10 grand or something?
Mm-hmm.
So the assessors, when they've signed up to our platform, they've gone for, say, the money that they would usually make from an assessment. So because of our reduced fees and, they can do it remotely, they don't have to travel anywhere. So they set the prices. So they're giving us an average price, which is significantly lower than any of the regions across the world.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon and Emilio. Next to the stage, we have Blockchain IDV, Identity Verification Innovation through Blockchain Technology by Kenneth Adumekwe.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Kenneth Adumekwe. Today, I'm going to talk about ID verification. Now, ID verification is a necessary evil. It's required by many, many businesses on the island, and it's often inconvenient. So today, I'm going to demonstrate how blockchain IDV can solve and ease the pain of that process. Today, I'll share you a story to illustrate the problem and the solution, a real life story. So I'd like to take this moment to read this to you. So Mark joined KPMG in the Cayman Islands from the US in 2024. For his work permit, bank account, utilities, and car insurance, he had to verify his ID multiple times, each time using different methods, costing him time, money, and aggravation. His personal data was compromised in a ransomware attack on the Bank of America, which left him emotionally scarred and very, very reticent to share his personal data in the future. So we know we all can share and appreciate and empathize with Mark and sympathize with Mark, but also we're aware of all the challenges that small businesses have in terms of dealing with the compliance requirements and regulators have in terms of supervising them. So what can blockchain IDV do to solve these problems? Well, let me read you what we're going to put on our website. We offer a unique, seamless integration for verified ID access, providing a single source for all parties. We will collaborate with the Cayman Islands government to ensure that the verified results are regulatory compliant and therefore universally acceptable to all Cayman business providers. We will use SOC 2, an ISO certified eKYC solution, and encrypt results for added security. Your data is shared to businesses only with your permission, and access is easily managed with a click of a few buttons. No other provider currently provides that in the market. Now let's pick that apart. What does that mean? What sets us apart? Well, we're going to be the only company who encrypts the eKYC verified results and convert them into NFTs so they can operate as digital passports. Now everybody talks about NFTs in terms of they're digital art, isn't it, for the music world? No. The token is also unique and also cannot be alterable. Therefore, it can provide assurance and authenticity of any encrypted result that's tied to it. Okay? Quite a complex sort of scenario, but let me try and reenact what will happen in a real life scenario. Here you go, here's a passport. Does everybody know who this passport belongs to? No, no one does, right? No? Only time you know who it is if I open the contents. Is it secure? You're sure as hell it is, because anybody here is not going to push this away from me, are you? Okay, so all I can do is I can share the contents to one of the panelists without revealing it to the audience. That is the control that Mark will have when he gets to have his NFT. He can share those contents with only those parties that he wishes to have. Okay, so the universal acceptance and the terms of use, the agreed terms of use of the application will allow regulators to use their dashboards to generate reports of all the NFT views from all of the subscribers to the blockchain. That will speed up audit times for the regulators exponentially. On the flip side, for businesses preparing for those audits, again, it's going to be a huge time saver. I'm a compliance officer myself, and I know the challenges with pulling together manual ID verification files. It's insane. But this will absolutely expedite the process. Okay? So in short, blockchain IDV doesn't just simplify identification. It can actually transform the way in which we protect and share personal data. Now imagine a world where Cayman Islands is the #1 jurisdiction for financial services in the world because of the simplicity of our customer onboarding experience. Imagine if the Cayman Islands was the #1 jurisdiction in the virtual asset space because we're the only true jurisdiction that embraces the technology and the innovation that drives that industry. Imagine if blockchain IDV was a digital platform to introduce the National Identification Program. Well, let's not imagine it. Let's make it a reality. Let's get behind blockchain IDV. Thank you.
So I had a question. So actually, they use this in other nations too. For example, I used to live in Sweden, right? And they have this similar programs called Bank ID, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe people in the audience would be shocked, but 99.8% of people aged 18 to 67 in Sweden use this ID system. Yeah. And you use it for everything, right? Identifying government documents, websites, paying taxes, everything. But they have chosen to build that, through their banks built it, through more traditional infrastructure called PKI, public key infrastructure, right? Mm-hmm. I'm curious why you chose to run your identity verification system on the blockchain versus something more traditional like what they do in Sweden.
Well, I think the blockchain has the advantage of essentially not creating a single point of failure. Now, I think the problem that we've had with other systems is that they usually are quite server-based, quite centralized, and therefore it makes it very, very sort of susceptible to attacks. So one of the advantages that blockchain have here is that they are more enhanced in terms of the level of insurance and security that they give you. So the big thing I forgot to put in that 5 minutes was to say that the biggest concept that we wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of is the simplicity, security, and convenience of the application.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a question. You said that you were going to be collaborating with the Cayman Islands government. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to find out, obviously that collaboration is outside of your hands. If you aren't able to get that collaboration, will that affect your business moving forward?
Well, the good thing is we guarantee that we can get into the room and talk to the relevant people, and we have spoken to a few people already. So I think before we even got to the idea of actually maturing to the point where I'm actually speaking to you guys, we need to get some assurances that we can speak with the government.
No, speaking with them is one thing, mm-hmm. but getting them on board is where we're going to have the problem. Yeah. So we're very good at having the conversations, but moving it forward is where I see the problem. So
yeah, I think the thing that we're looking to do is when you're looking to give the government a product and say, there you go, run with it, like it or loathe it, we're actually in a position where we want to work with government. I think the problem we have in Cayman is we don't have enough public-private partnerships. We don't have a collaborative approach towards advancing a solution. So our strategy is to really talk with government. If they find out from themselves, what is it about our idea that they don't like, and then be prepared to pivot. So that's where our intention is, to guarantee success.
Going off more of that question, if the Cayman Islands, the government doesn't go forward with this, are you looking forward to partnering with other countries or other establishments that can put this on a more global stage and maybe one day have a global identity chain?
I'm really glad you asked that question, because I think the first port of call for our idea is Cayman. But if Cayman doesn't take it, then we're happy to take the idea to BVI, to the Turks and Caicos, to the Bahamas. And unfortunately, my business partner is not here today, but he's very well connected with the EFATIF, which is the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force. So he knows a lot of senior guys there that he was willing to speak to on a jurisdictional basis to get this idea off the road.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. Well done. You touched on both sort of B2C and B2B, right? You know, compliance ultimately comes through to the individual. But is your initial traction going to be in the business space, i.e., you know, true KYC through the Big Four or whatever, or will you try and go the consumer route, or perhaps both? How do you think about that initial traction?
Yeah, that's another good, really good question. I think in terms of our marketing strategy, everything is very, very based on the government, right? And I think that the reason why a lot of these blockchain-based ideas have failed is because it's been generated through the private sector. It hasn't been a trust anchor to actually make it work. And that's why we want to work with government with this strategy. So we believe that once the government's on board and we have a government-approved solution, then I think things will take its natural course of events. Because as I explained with the story of Mark, there's going to be millions of Marks out there who just want a convenient way of sharing their identification in a very, very secure fashion. That's what we offer.
Well done. Not a space I'm massively educated on into compliance. So forgive me here. In terms of the competitor or existing market, so you said there's no one else out there. I'm aware of a local company called Seamer who are doing something similar to this. I'm hoping you've heard of them, and so you can tell me. I believe they're web-based rather than blockchain-based, but they're kind of offering a similar thing, KYC, AML, compliance, and encrypted transfer of data using web-based. So can you sell? You got 30 more seconds. Just why is it better?
It's better because we are actually creating digital passports. And as we expand to jurisdiction, you will find your digital passport, just like an American Express credit card, is going to be acceptable in many jurisdictions.
Thank you, Kenneth. Next to the stage, we have Statemate, AI-driven financial reporting for effortless U.S. GAAP compliance by Bahadur Lal.
Morning, everyone. My name is Bahadur, and I'm pleased to present to you my product, Statemate. Statemate is transforming the way investment funds do financial reporting, cutting the process down from months to just minutes. So what does financial reporting actually involve? Well, there's many aspects to financial reporting, be it to investors directly, if they want to know how their performance has been over the past quarter or month. There's reporting to investors, to managers themselves, and ESG reporting. But what we're really interested in is the financial statements. Financial statements comprise of key statements like a balance sheet, an income statement, a cash flow statement, and various other disclosures. They're prepared under accounting standards like US GAAP and IFRS. They're often mandated by fund governing documents and regulations. So they're a key set of reports for transparency for all stakeholders. So how are financial statements prepared today? Well, right now, data comes from many different sources. It can come from an accounting system, an investor services system, or internally generated schedules. Someone then has to aggregate that data and ensure it can be reconciled. Often this is done in legacy software like Excel. It then needs to be prepared into a cohesive document under respective accounting standards. Once the draft has been prepared, it's exchanged with clients and auditors over email or file sharing systems, which can make version control quite cumbersome. To outsource this, it can cost up to $20,000 for a complex set of financial statements. And this can take weeks to months of everyone's time. If there's any late adjustments, such as an audit finding or a change to valuations, that change will need to be propagated throughout all the documents, and we need to start this cycle again. There's got to be a better way, and there is the Statemate way. Statemate is an all-in-one AI-enhanced platform. The user simply needs to drag and drop their financial reports from whatever system they're using into our platform. Using AI and machine learning, we will then automatically reconcile that data to generate a single source of truth. From there, we can generate all of the key statements like the balance sheet, the income statement, and any other quantitative disclosures needed in the financial statements. We'll also allow for real-time collaboration, making version control a non-issue. Auditors, clients, and any other reviewers can pitch in their comments in one cohesive platform. Lastly, we'll support the generation of an audit pack. So all of the final figures in the financial statements can be traced through to the source data, making this an auditor's dream. Here's a little bit about how we actually use AI and machine learning, which a lot of people are interested in. Right now, the MVP works like this. The data is passed through a large language model, and it will understand what reports it's been given. The LLM will then categorize that data and map it into pre-configured templates, which will then pass into a machine learning algorithm. This process will repeat itself recursively until the algorithm is satisfied that all the data it's being given is internally consistent, and if not, it will throw out an exception to the user. Only once the model has confidence that the data is internally consistent will it be stored into a SQL Server database, from which we will then generate the rest of the statements. This is a huge market. There's 200,000 funds registered globally, 30,000 of which are in Cayman, and there's 60,000 fund managers in the world. It's estimated that the asset management industry employs 300,000 accountants who spend 10 to 15% of their time on year-end financial statements. At a conservative estimate, we're looking at a potentially billion-dollar industry. Statemate will be deployed as a freemium SaaS product, so users can try the product for free with a watermarked output, but to take advantage of all the features like audit packs, real-time collaboration, you need to pay us per subscription fee. Thank you. Happy to take your questions.
I guess I'll kick it off. Firstly, thank you for the presentation. It was very nice visuals. It looks like you took a lot of time to make that, so that was very, very pleasant to look at. And the identification of the problem, it's a real problem. I actually used to work in the hedge fund industry, and we had this problem, right? Like, you have these admins that are SS&C, for example, a big admin. You know, they're good at processing the NAV packs, but they're terrible at making the financial statements. And we actually used to send it down here to KPMG Cayman. We pay them 5 to 10 grand per fund just to make it nicer, right? And we thought we were getting a steal because SS&C was so bad at doing this. But I guess my question is, obviously these firms, SS&C is a $20 billion company, right? KPMG is a massive company. They're probably going to employ ML, into their processes too, right? And they're going to have LLMs as well do some of this stuff. How do you envision yourself competing with some of these behemoths in your offering?
Okay, great question. I actually work for SS&C right now, so I understand where you're coming from. I used to work for KPMG as well. One thing I will say is that these companies have a lot of red tape, a lot of bureaucracy. If they're employing any new technology, it has to go through so many different layers of review and approvals, sometimes at a global level. As a startup, I'm nimble. I have the advantage of being able to move a lot faster than they can. So I don't doubt that they're probably pouring a lot of money into this right now, but I think I can get there before they can.
And maybe as a follow-up question, these hedge funds are very sensitive on privacy, right? Like, I don't envision them like being very willing to input their data somewhere where they could potentially be leaked. How do you plan to kind of address that?
Yep, I think we're planning to operate like any other service provider, so we can obtain a SOC 1 Type 2 attestation or a SOC audit, so we'll be recognized as a reliable service provider, which means we need to follow through on best practices for cybersecurity and data storage.
Thank you.
Yeah, great presentation. The visuals were fantastic.
Thank you.
Huge market, as you know, right? There's the transition to LLMs from sort of traditional AIs is really compelling and offers a huge opportunity. But you lose potentially some preciseness with LLMs, right? You've touched on it in your pipeline there. You're using some ML, NLP, it looks like, and some LLMs as well. But how do you address the challenge of you need preciseness and precise tools in financial statements, and there are some things that LLMs are good for.
Absolutely.
And what do you think your accuracy is?
Yep. So the LLMs aren't actually doing any of the hard reconciliations. They're just there to help guide and understand what the actual data is and give it some context. The heavy lifting is done by machine learning models, which are essentially math models. So that's where the preciseness comes from. We wouldn't rely on AI to do any of the actual number crunching.
Yeah, great answer. I think the other observation I have is just the challenge of freemium in that market and the cost of LLMs, right? You'll be running a pretty heavy deficit up front to get in, but you have to then convert to paid. But I'm sure you've thought about that. Yeah. But great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a more thorough dive into and question, who exactly is your target customer for this? Is it more on the multi-million-dollar businesses, or is it looking out for the little guy who wants to kick off their business for the first time? Because I think this reconciliation part of the AI segment is a great feature.
I think we're initially targeting smaller fund managers directly who want to bring this back in-house. They're typically more budget conscious, and outsourcing to third-party providers can be quite expensive. So those are the guys we'll target initially. As we scale, this could potentially become a much bigger solution for much bigger funds. Yeah.
Hello. I love this, and I think what Gannon said is, which is what I was about to say. So I run the finances of my business. We are a small, medium-sized Cayman company, and this is exactly what I want. And I would pay a fee for, because I create kind of an Excel spreadsheet to break down all of my kind of reimbursements and expenditures and billables, and then I compare, and I have to process all of my invoices. It's a very manual process with my accountant. And if I had something I could just chuck all of my inputs into, and it would chuck me out my P&L and my balance sheet, and then would produce my invoice and do all this, I'm paying for this all the time. This is the biggest time waste and a thing I hate doing, and it's a huge manual process. So I would encourage you, it's not really a question actually, small businesses for this would love this.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bahadur. Next to the stage, we have Alex, your customizable AI for mind and emotional well-being, support, guidance, and care, anytime, anywhere, by Manuela Pasaniti.
Hi everybody, I'm Manuela and I work with special needs for many years, and I'm here to introduce Alex and an AI solution for mind and emotional well-being. So a few years ago, I went through a painful breakup with a person with bipolar disorder, and was a lonely experience because my family didn't really understand, my friends as well. So I was alone and nobody could really help me. And I realized that so many people around the world, they are also silently face mind and emotional challenges, and 57% of them don't seek for help because the therapy is expensive and for social stigma, and also the therapy is not available when we really need it. So we are assisting to a loneliness epidemic because everybody is alone with their own life's challenges. So in Cayman, for example, the access to therapy is very limited because we don't have enough therapists, and also the privacy is a bit at risk. And the numbers speak for themselves because in 2021, we had 7,000 new cases of depression and anxiety, and in 2022, we had 247 students that attempted suicide. So this is a problem we need to address as fast as possible. And this is my solution. Alex is a customizable AI companion, so you can choose their gender, their name, how it looks like, and it's available 24/7, anytime you need, and anywhere. And you can interact with Alex in multiple ways, through text message, through voice call, or video chat, and you can you can have open conversation with it in a judgment and Sigma-free environment. And your information and data will be safe with the HIPAA compliant services. So Alex will drive you, will help you to relieve your pain, and will give you science-based insights, and will guide you eventually through therapy-based activities to feel better. And eventually you can also book through the app a professional care provider therapy. And with your consent, you can share, Alex can share your information to the therapist before your session so they can review it and will give you better and effective therapy and intervention. And of course, Alex will track your progress, so we have a real vision of your mind and emotional wealth through the day. And this will have a global impact because Alex will offer healthcare 24/7 to everybody for low cost. And this is how it works. We have a freemium plan, so you can enjoy some services for free. You can subscribe for weekly, monthly, or annually for very low price. You can book your professional therapist for low rates. You can buy a wellness gift card for your loved ones, and we are going to work with business, so you will be able to enjoy our premium services for free, maybe. And in the future, we're going to integrate wellness retreat, wellness event, and even you will be able to buy organic product through the app. And these are the data we collected, and show that Alex is a very important service. 82% of the people will prefer AI to open up to express their feelings, and 76% of people would pay for a service like Alex, and 24% is the percentage that we expect the mental health market will grow every year. And so let's transform mind and emotional wellness together with Alex and join us in empowering emotional resilience through affordable, holistic wellness for you anytime, anywhere. Thank you.
I can kick it off. First of all, great presentation, great idea.
Thank you.
I think this is a very important topic. My only question with this is, a lot of AIs have a memory issue and get confused after a long conversation and start mix matching the chat messages and everything like that. How are you going to combat this so the user doesn't end up getting annoyed with this case scenario?
So because this is still at the idea stage, we are going to work on it. So hopefully my technicians will solve this problem. So I cannot answer at the moment, but they will do for sure. And we'll be sure that all your data are safe and not mixed up.
Hi, very good job. Yeah, good presentation. Well
Thank
done.
you.
I really like it, and I really worry about it in two ways. I really like the problem you identified and how you're approaching it and how vital it is. And I think it's innovative. I think it's a good idea. I worry about a couple of things, kind of related again to what Gannon said. One, I'm worried about how you would control the AI's responses and its evolution and its learning, and that related to that, the liability you might face. For example, there was the tragedy of a teenager who killed himself last year, whose family was suing Google and the chatbot because it's like accusing the chatbot of kind of manipulating the sound, right? And so have you considered any kind of liability or potential harmful outcomes of the AI model in that way?
So hopefully Alex will prevent those crises. This is what it meant to be. So hopefully we'll prevent this, and Alex will recognize if there's a crisis situation. So it will direct you. It will kind of activate an emergency mode. So it will direct you to the professional therapist, and eventually you will have the possibility to kind of press a button and activate a real fast intervention, like emergency. So we're going to work on that as well. But yeah, this is what hopefully it will prevent
Yeah, I think
to reach that
that's a
point.
good idea. And I just don't know the legality, but I would maybe explore having the ability for oversight of the users as well. So if you had medical professionals who are able to also maybe have alerts come to them in the case and they're able to review, and maybe there's an opt-in for something like that, but some sort of like supervision or protection of the users, I think is something that I would be concerned about with this, or something for you to build it into in the future.
Yeah, we'll do for sure.
So I had a question around like the competitive landscape, right? I'm scrolling through Twitter these days and I'm seeing people have AI boyfriends and girlfriends, and there's all these apps that do it with avatars. I use ChatGPT myself as my own therapist, right?
I do too. That's why I have my idea.
So that's why I'm curious. Like, have you looked at the competitive landscape on similar companies doing it, and how do you think your product would fit in that market?
So basically, my product will be a bridge, a connection between AI and the traditional therapy. Because basically, the traditional therapy we can get once a week, and between the next session there will be a gap. So Alex fit in this gap. So we'll help the traditional therapy to be more effective. Keeping on track every single day the user. So this is what I think is differentiate Alex from the other app, because the other app they're focused on just on self-care, but this one will connect with the traditional therapy. So we'll keep on track the user during the waiting time to the next session. I don't know if it's clear, but thank you.
So I just have a question about validation. So what validation steps have you taken, and had they led to any pivots or refinements?
Sorry?
What validation steps have you taken? And if so, did they lead to any pivots or refinements?
So I took a survey, I ran a survey, and then I did some secondary market research that somebody taught me. And I reached out around 62 people, and we found out this data about the preference of AI and willing to pay for a service like that. And also, we cannot forget what COVID restriction did a huge mess. Sorry for the word, but so I think Alex will have a big market to work on.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emanuela. Next to the stage, we have Cognizant Learning, revolutionizing education through AI-driven personalized learning by Michael Stanowitz.
Our purpose is to deliver personalized instruction. Ensuring no child is left behind simply because they learn differently. My story starts out with COVID, and just like everybody else, we were totally freaked out when COVID happened. I also had the added pressure of having 2 kids that are now home full time. So we had fun for the first month, but they got bored very quickly. And chickens and lollipops didn't cut it. So I had to roll my sleeves up. I left my SaaS job that I had, and I started to teach my kids. And I looked at everything. I looked at everything I could get my hands on, every curriculum, every program that I could look at. So after that, I started to realize when I started to put them side by side, here are 2 kids, twins, same exact DNA, went to the same age. I started to teach them, and I figured out really early that they learned very differently. My son took to everything. My daughter spiraled, especially when it came to math. And that led me to an understanding that there's a crisis happening right now when it comes to math, and we are absolutely failing our kids when we are teaching in a standardized method. In the US, in 8th grade, there's about 74% of kids that cannot perform to grade level in grade 8. Now that affects them for the rest of their life. I mean, some of them have given up. Some of them are going to be ill-prepared for jobs. Some of them are going to have crippling math anxiety for their entire life. But we have a solution. And our breakthrough solution is adaptive cognitive scaffolding. And it's a design that's meant to deliver a individualized learning to each student. So the same math problem in a different format to each student is the way they understand it, delivered to them the way they understand it the best. And this will improve math scores dramatically. This can turn F students This will turn F students into B students and D and C students into A students. I'm going to tell you how that works. There are two things that happen. One, there's an assessment portion of what we do. And this starts off with a student solving a problem. AI then identifies the approach that they use to solve that problem. The database logs the problem, the approach, and the solution. And we're one of the only companies in this space, which is very, very crowded. We're one of the only people to use the data to continually learn on. And it is 100% personalized. I'll give you an example of how this works in the classroom. Students are working on a problem, let's say it's 5 times 4. Well, they understand the problem very differently. And spatial learners will see a picture of 5 rows with 4 chairs in it. Stepwise learners will get 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. And contextual learners will get a word problem. Now, this is one of the most critical parts of math because this is the time and place that you learn the concepts, not just memorization. So that's what separates this from a lot of other programs too. Now, I want to talk a little bit about validation for this. Adaptive learning is well known. It's been around since the 70s. And it's been proven to produce higher engagement rates. Kids learn concepts about 60 times faster, and they retain things for much, much longer. So there are 2 other things that I want to impart on you with this as well. And one is that this learning method can be applied to any progressive learning. So if you have all the STEM classes that you take, this same learning can be applied to this. And the second thing is that no one is using this as a private database for each student forever. This could be a lifelong learning tool that we give to our students. So we are looking for an MVP investor, $200K for a 10% for a 10% stake in the company. And I'd love for you to reimagine learning with us together. Sorry, I forgot the questions. Any questions?
Felt like I was really Shark Tank for a second there. Really good. Yeah, really well done. I really like this. Yeah, great identification of a problem. Really innovative solution. So I want to understand, how is the AI assessing these children's approach to problems? Do they have to enter how they're doing something into an interface, or is it like, does it get feedback? How does it assess the child's aptitude or thinking process?
Well, in our assessment portion of what we do, all you need is data to work off of. And that's what this collects up front. And then it continually stores the data. Now, the scaffolding portion of this is really key to how this is designed, because as math progresses, or any other, STEM program progresses, it gets harder and harder. So it needs to rely on earlier success to continually build on to future success. And that's how this scaffolding kind of works in the architecture of the software.
Just seeking some clarity on your target audience. Is that schools, parents? Is it a tutoring platform?
Well, I think that it's kind of it's everything. It can be anything. We are looking at governments. We are looking at schools here locally in Cayman. We're actually waiting for elections to happen so we can jump into the next group and work on some things with them. We've approached people in government already that have shown interest in this and using Cayman as a possible pilot school in all 7 schools. So that's one area. Eventually when this is fine-tuned, we'd like to take this to countries if we can. It could be done in private schools. It could be done for homeschooling. There's no limit to where this goes. And then, the architecture of this too lends to having a future where you will be able to take your learning that you've had for 10 years or so that we're storing and apply it to workflows. So, this could even be lifelong learning modules that you have where it understands from the very get-go and adapts with you as you get smarter and smarter.
How did you assess that the current educational system wasn't enough? Because you had your own personal experience with kids and had to convert these. If you kind of see the current offering in the schools right now, was it hard?
Yeah, we were in the Seattle school system, which, had touted themselves as being one of the best school systems in the country. And when we really looked at it, they still did very standardized teaching. A teacher gets up on a board in a math class, and she does the problem one way. Well, 5 kids out of that class may understand that. What about the other 25 kids that are in the class? That's what really got me thinking about this. And when I saw it in my daughter and I saw her absolutely spiral in math and absolutely give up in math, I mean, we've all at some point given up in math. A lot of us have anyway. I think that we forget how painful it is. And when you see that, it really motivated me to kind of come up with this. Yes, it would probably be with instructor-led problems, and the delivery would be to each student with the same problem, same curriculum, at the same time, in the same classroom.
Thank you, Michael. Now we encourage and remind everyone to ensure that the microphones are placed closer to your mouth to ensure that everyone can hear over the live stream and also in the audience. Next to the stage, we have Fast Savings, a local bartering app aimed at facilitating community connections through cost-free commerce, where commerce meets culture, by Ideate General.
When you think of the Cayman Islands, what's the first image that pops into your head? Blue iguanas? Pristine beaches? Luxury hotels and condominiums? Sure, all of that is part of what makes Cayman special, but something is missing. There, that experience of shared understanding, that shared connection you all just felt, community, home. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ideate General. I'm a proud Caymanian entrepreneur, youth worker, and activist. And today, I'd like to show you what we're missing, and more importantly, how we can get it back. Can I have the clicker? Thank you. Everything comes at a price, right? We live in a capitalist society, and everything comes with a cost. How could it not? But when do we stop to think, maybe this cost is too high? Specifically in Cayman, we have one of the highest costs of living in the world. And for a country smaller than most American states, something isn't adding up there. Because of the disparity that is caused with this high cost of living, so many Caymanians cannot afford to live a fulfilling life. That's where Fast Savings comes in. Fast Savings is a completely free online bartering app that allows people from all over the country to exchange goods and services for other goods and services. It's really quite simple. By bringing Cayman back to our roots, we allow for the creation of real and sustainable communities and connections. But where's the demand for an app like this? A survey that I created, answered by 25 individuals, 60% of whom ranked themselves as middle income, showed that 52% of respondents felt that it was a high priority for them to lower their monthly expenses. 84% said they struggled to find affordable and accessible means of getting products and services in Cayman. 52% stated they would be happy to use an app that would provide them with exclusive deals and lowered income or lowered costs. And 88%, a staggering amount of people, said they would be happy to use an app that would help them meet people and save money, which is exactly what Fast Savings will do. So how do we do this? How do we give people what they want? By creating strategic examination of user interface experiences that are intuitive and useful, we can put these features into an app to create a space for users that is not only creating problem-solving partnerships, but reinforcing Fast Savings as a must-have companion for any person within the Cayman Islands workforce. So let's walk through a few of our features, our key features. Upon first opening the app, users will be greeted by Jim and Leela, two AI versions of two of Cayman's national heroes. They will be given a tour of the app where they can see all of the main features and understand how to use the app to its fullest potential. And as they complete the tour, they will be given culture coins, an in-app currency that can be used to purchase out-of-app discounts at partnered events and organizations. On the home screen of the app, they'll be able to see a list or a scroll down page of the most recent posts of exchanges that people have made, and as well as what these exchanges are willing to receive for their products or services. So here, for example, you'll see somebody is advertising they're willing to exchange a snorkeling tour guide for scuba equipment or boat rides. And this can apply to products, services. So if you want to get rid of your surplus of mangoes in the next couple of months, Fast Savings is the way to do that. But the thing that I really want to bring attention to is the daily food deals that you'll see here. Through our partnerships with local cafes and restaurants will not only be able to get rid of their surplus food and reduce their environmental footprint, but users will also have completely free access to discounted meals, making Fast Savings a key step in reducing the amount of money that they have to spend every month. It is so important that when we put together an app for this society, that we create something that is not just asking users to spend their money, but that it is something that we are asking them to create community and create new connections so that they can continue to grow as people and feel connected to the rest of their society. Thank you. Oh dear.
I think we're on. Are we on? Congrats. That was like a really clear, compelling presentation. You obviously put a lot of time into it.
Thank you so much.
Well done. Yeah, great idea. And obviously we all see that problem, right? And Trump's not making it any better with the tariff war. So maybe if you could just talk me through, is there a monetization model for it to keep it sustainable, and maybe how that plays out?
Yes, so that would be with our partnerships with the local restaurants that would take part in the daily food deals. They would get access to that through a monthly or yearly membership. So that essentially would fund the app and allow users to use it for free continuously.
Hi again, well done. I really like this. I've just got maybe a couple of bits of maybe just questions or points. Again, this is my one. First thing, I would encourage you to do some wider research. As we discussed, that sample rate isn't good enough, but I think you'd find out a lot more about the demand for what type of services, and especially what type of things people would like have to put onto the app, and actually to validate that kind of exchange value. And then one thing I'm wondering about is there any sort of temporal element to this, like a time of the day or year, a seasonality or something? Because it seems to me like this is great for kind of marginal revenue or marginal waste or marginal products, right? So I look at the restaurant one, or even the services, right? If I have a boat trip going out and I got a few extra spaces, if I've got like food product which is going out, you know, it's that kind of marginal waste and trying to clean up that. So have you thought about, is it just going to be kind of open to everyone all day, or like for the restaurants, it could be like it comes online at 9 o'clock, you know, as they're kind of finishing traditional service, or is there any element to that that you've kind of thought about? Or
Yeah, so for the general exchanges between users, it'll be open 24/7 all day. But for the restaurants specifically, because they would typically be looking at their excess food towards the end of the day, so around maybe 3-4 o'clock, which is also a really great time because that's typically when students are getting out of school. That's typically when parents are looking for a quick meal to get them home so that they're not screaming in their ear on the way home that they're hungry. So being able to have that time slot just for them to say, this is when our food deals are available, and it becomes very reliable, and it becomes a sort of a pattern that makes it easier for the average user to take advantage of these deals.
All right, so just piggybacking off what he said in terms of getting more surveys. Is it my understanding that you only did surveys for persons who are looking for discounts?
No, so I put the survey out to the general public. The low number of respondents that you see is unfortunately due to the application that I used. I used SurveyMonkey, and after a certain, I believe it was 25 respondents was the maximum amount of people that I could get access to. I actually had about 40 to 50 respondents, so this is not necessarily what I wanted to give, but it's what I had access to.
Got you. And it's a bartering system, right?
Yes.
Okay. And have you looked at like the competitive landscape? So we know that there's Facebook Marketplace, there's Ecomtric, there's all these other platforms. So how are you going to ensure that you differentiate yourself from them? And also in terms of the partnership agreements, having those partners come on board, have you started kind of having those discussions to figure out how that's going to look?
Yeah, so in terms of the market research that I did initially to look at the competition, the main premise of the other apps or websites that are available is money. They are money forward. You have to do, on Ecomtric, you purchase things. On Facebook Marketplace, you are purchasing things. Fast Savings is solely about doing all of this, exchanging without money, so that people who are lower income don't have to stress, oh, well, I don't have $15 to spend on a new pair of shoes from Facebook Marketplace, or I don't have $15 for gas. It's somebody that could be right around the corner from me that has what I need, and I might have what they need as well. Could you repeat the second part of your question?
The other part was the partnerships, because the partners, looking mindful, partners are paying to be on.
Yes.
So what value are they getting out? Because they're also going to be they're paying and then they're giving a discount, right?
Right. So through using the app, they're not only exposing themselves to new clientele markets that they may not have had access to before, but they're also getting rid of their food waste. That's a massive pull for a lot of companies now. They want to be more eco-friendly, and I think through Fast Savings, that's a great way to do it. That's 3 seconds. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Next to the stage, we have Chip In, Smart Payments for Shared Moments by Shannon Hill and Ladine Kelly.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, judges. I am Shannon Hill.
And I am Ladine Kelly.
And today we're here to present Chip In. No, it's not the name for some brand of new potato chips, and it's definitely not the name of a new soca song. What is Chipping? It's actually a group share expense payment app. Now, why do we need this app, you might ask? Well, I'm sure most of us in here have had some experience with, be it a group trip, a dining experience, or some group activity or excursion where you had to divvy up the bill, pay for it beforehand, and so that could have been somewhat cumbersome. I myself recently went on a trip with 5 friends, and let me tell you, it was heck. We all sat on different sections of the plane. We didn't get to book the same hotels. All our excursions were at different times. So as you could imagine, we didn't get to spend a lot of time together. We didn't share some of those memories together. And we definitely ended up killing the vibe of the trip. But what if all of that could have been solved and been avoided by paying for everything all at once using one payment solution at one time? Sounds like a good idea, right? Makes sense. This is a problem we have in the Cayman Islands. There's no seamless way for us to actually split, track, or share expenses. And locally, actually, what we do have is persons using bank transfers, we use a lot of cash. And when we're reimbursing someone, it's based on these mediums and using IOUs. Locally, I mean, our visitors actually that come to the island from like US, UK, Canada, they are familiar with apps that actually provide these services, apps such as Splid, Venmo, Splitwise. But these apps can't be used in the Cayman Islands. So what does that mean? It gives us a unique opportunity to come up with an expense splitting payment solution for the Cayman Islands. Enter Chipping. Our intention for this app is to have a single solution with the use of a virtual payment card for groups to be able to split, track, and share expenses. Things such as utilities, groceries, group travel. Now, we thought this is a great idea, but we needed to get some market validation. So we did a survey, and from this survey, actually, we found a quite unique selling point. 65.7% of our respondents actually said they think a splitting expense app would be important to them. And they also said that they would be willing to use it. Half of those actually agreed that they would be willing to pay for something like this. Now this leads us to our unique solution.
So as previously mentioned, our respondents indicated that they are willing to use this application. And so we envision having a user-friendly platform that can be used by both our locals and our visitors alike to help them to both track and settle their group expenses. We also want to ensure that this solution seamlessly integrates into the Cayman Islands financial ecosystem. Now I want to take you through some of the key features of this application. Now, upon creating a group or pool, as we call it, we want to immediately, as mentioned, issue a virtual Visa or MasterCard to the group, and that card would be used by the pool members, of course. We want to have functionalities for the automatic splitting of the expenses, right? We also want to enforce transparency within the group, and so we will ensure that all members will be able to see the balance, and of course implement multi-factor authentication so that all transactions have to be approved by 2 or more members before it can be fully executed. Finally, we want to integrate this solution within our existing businesses within the Cayman Islands for a more frictionless experience. Now I would like to take you through the flow that we have developed a prototype. And here we can see where a user would essentially create a pool for whatever reason. It could be for trip, for grocery, whether they would just want to raise funds, etc. Next step, they would basically they would add members to the pool. The next step is to add a bill or expense. Add a bill or expense. And for this, we'll ensure all members can essentially contribute to this bill that was created for that pool. And of course, finally, those users would be able to use this virtual card that was created at any merchant island-wide, and of course online, and those that support the tap-and-pay functionality.
Thank you. Yeah, my question was on user flow, so thank you for continuing. I guess I really like it. Yeah, I think it's really elegant. I think it looks really good. I think your design is spot on as well. I don't know who's doing your design in there, but it's really on point. Looks really slick and very modern, and yeah, very UX compliant. I guess I want to know. Okay, so I've got two things. I want to know how you're going to solve the banking issue, right? Why we can't have Venmo and GPay and Apple Pay and everything here. How you're going to get it working. So I just want to understand how that's going to be conquered. And then I had just one other thing, which I think is an add-on you could do to where have you considered having like trip planning and maps and things on here? So like if you have a group, you could like actually then have a map as part of the app, and then you could plot out, okay, we're going from here to here to here, and then you can assign like people if they want to go there, so like voting almost on what you do that evening, and then you can even track the entire evening, like plot out exactly where to spend, and budgeting and all sorts, and I can see a lot in this. I really like it. So yeah, but the banking is the main question.
Sure. All right, so to answer the first question, so all those apps that we mentioned before, they're being used, as I said, globally, but because of the KYC regulations within the Cayman Islands, they can't be used here. So, and they only use the currency local to the market that they're in. So there's nothing that will allow them to use CI dollars, for example. So in addition to that, there are regulations as it relates to, we might also need to have licensing. We've been through SEMA, because what we're offering is our banking service. So fintechs here, we've been in touch with fintechs, different solutions that could fit what we have, because again, the unique selling point here is the virtual card and to actually have it be able to be loaded from multiple sources. As for the second part of the question, no, we are not doing a map, but it sounds like a good idea. It sounds good because there are other features that we would want to highlight, which would allow persons to be able to seamlessly like just make the payments.
Could be loads, even like, you know, tracking apps when people go to like festivals together and they need to keep a track. There's like so many applications that when you're financially tying a group together, then you tie like their entire existence and movements together. And so yeah, you could capture a bunch of different kind of other co-op and friend apps and things. Yeah, I think it's really elegant actually.
Thanks for that.
First off, great idea. Love it. Every time I have a friend from my old university come down and they can't use their American Express, for example, they're like, how can I pay you back? I got Venmo. Can't use that here. So great idea. But we all have that one friend who has that issue of paying you back and getting you money back, especially when it comes to a trip. How, and I know this is not directly your control, but how would you indirectly control that friend who ends up saying, well, I'm not paying for that. I don't want to be part of that part of the trip.
We actually never thought about it.
Well, one of the selling point, of course, is the fact that you can do this upfront or before your activity. So, of course, you would control it by, you know, ensuring that that friend pays upfront before he actually goes on that trip.
I think Gannon's point was like, he has a friend from France, let's say, and he can't pay up front because he can't literally wire money or like connect his bank to the Cayman Islands bank, right? Or how does he get this money into that virtual card, basically? Like, do you have connections with other banks to be able to come into that?
So that's why we've spoken to and have approached the Visa team as well as MasterCard, because their solutions that offer the prepaid virtual card will actually help with that. The challenge is having the actual fintech with the solution to implement it here, because again, it's not a banking platform, it's just a banking service. So there are a lot of regulatory stuff that will come with that, but it's really just speaking to the right connectors for the network.
Okay.
Another follow-up real quick. Have you guys thought of budgeting tools within this? So let's say you are planning this trip or planning a shopping spree or something like that, that you guys can each say, oh, I want to allocate this money to this part of the trip for this adventure.
Yes. So in the user flow, you you see where when you put the bill description, you can actually split it based on the amounts for each person, and then you can also see who contributes what. Yeah.
And you can also see that, of course, if that you have persons who may, owe, or you basically would be able to see how much you owe or have outstanding on a specific bill.
Thank you, Shannon and Ladine. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in extending a warm welcome to the Honorable Wayne Panton, Member of Parliament, who has joined us this morning. We are honored to have you with us. Thank you. Next to the stage, we have the Sunny Collective, where Caribbean art meets the world, by Alessandra Anzik and Fernando Dornelis.
Thank you, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Alex. I'm creative and tech savvy.
And I'm Fernando, the finance and strategy guy.
Together, we're building the Sunny Collective, a digital platform that makes Caribbean art more accessible to the world with high-quality, affordable prints. The Caribbean is rich in creativity. What's missing is the infrastructure to help artists reach new audiences and participate in the digital economy. Many artists in Cayman and across the Caribbean still rely on physical galleries to sell their work. Few offer prints, and many just don't have the time or the tools to manage online sales. For tourists and customers, this creates friction. Many want to support local art, but don't end up buying due to either high prices, few print options, or just no easy way to send items home. Not everybody has a budget of $1,000+ for art. Meanwhile, artists are left juggling websites, payments, and logistics, or they just don't do prints altogether. That's a huge missed opportunity on both sides. Even some of Cayman's top artists don't have streamlined online payment on their websites. The Sunny Collective solves this with its all-in-one platform that takes care of everything behind the scenes, from uploads to promotions to payments, printing, and shipping. It removes the need for artists to manage websites, figure out payments, or logistics, while giving customers an easy way to discover local art online. It's seamless for both sides. Artists can focus on creating, and customers can easily buy prints with direct-to-door delivery.
And here's how it works. Artists send us their files or use our scanning services. We then upload to the website and
feature them in curated collections.
Yeah, feature them in curated collections.
Customers then order online, choosing size, format, and frame, and then we print to the closest printing partner to the customer and ship directly to their door. No setup or admin needed for
the artists. We're also blending digital with physical, where local galleries and studios can display QR codes where customers can buy on the spot. No need to bring anything back home in a suitcase.
And the global art market is evolving. Affordable prints now fuel a $63 billion industry led by younger collectors looking for meaningful and accessible art. Yet, Caribbean artists are left behind. E-commerce in our region accounts for just 0.77% of the GDP, far below the global average of 3.11%. At the same time, the Caribbean welcomes over 50 million tourists a year, many looking for locally made products, not just souvenirs made in China, but meaningful pieces that support the local culture. With Sunny Collective, buyers gain access, artists gain income, and Caribbean art reaches new audiences, one beautifully printed piece at a time. The Caribbean has the talent, and we're making sure the world sees it. Thank you.
Oh, congrats, guys! Great presentation, and love the idea of scaling some of the talent we have here globally. That's really cool. So on that side of the equation, you've got that locked down, but the flip side is trying to find the logistics and the printing the USA or UK, the big tourism markets. How do you plan on attacking that?
So we would partner with different local partners in the different regions. So we'd have a US partner, an EU partner, and then a UK partner. And then we would also partner with a printing shop here locally. And that's how we would manage that. So depending on where the customer is, buying from, then we would ship to, from the US to the, to that state, just to, make things easier.
And Alex has been selling on Etsy for a while now. So
yeah,
that's
so I have
something
an Etsy business
she
I
does.
have an idea of how this all works. Obviously, this is fine art, so the printing partners are a little bit different, but it's the same concept, yeah.
Yeah, my question line was similar. Is that, yeah, it's really good. I really like it. I really like the solving kind of a neat little problem locally and helping local artists, but it's controlling the supply side, the supply of the art to the customer. So I suppose it's how can you, I'm interested in if you've thought about standardizing the costs, like if you're going to charge at the point of sale on the website, how do you control the cost of printing in UK versus New York versus Portugal, etc. And then also, if there's any issues with the purchase afterwards, like after sales service, is that down to you, or does that go to the print shop itself, or is that the artist's problem, or where does the area of responsibility lie in after sales as well?
So I guess the first thing we want to do is to see where are the purchases coming from. Is it mostly from the US? I do know that some artists here, they just base themselves on the Cayman cost because that's the most expensive cost. So even if they're shipping to Europe, they're still charging what they would charge here in Cayman. Maybe that's something that we could do. And then your second question, I'm sorry, I just forgot.
No, me too as well. First was about cost, and then it was after sales service. So there's a problem with the print and delivery.
Yes.
How's that managed?
So then, the customer would reach out to us, and then we would liaise with our printing partner and then, get a replacement if there was a damage on the way or things like that. So, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, good one. I think it's, go for that.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I had a question around your customer acquisition strategy, right? Like I can understand that local art is being displayed and it's not printed, right? But how can you incentivize the galleries to work with you to have a QR code there that they could potentially go online and buy something? Is there like a rev share model between there? How do you attribute that? And the second part, if you're planning to just acquire customers through, traditional advertising like Facebook or Google, that's very expensive. Like I have an e-commerce business, we pay thousands upon thousands of dollars a day to acquire customers. Like how do you envision the customer acquisition strategy?
So for the galleries, for the QR codes, they would have a cut from the sales. So it would be a specific QR code that we know would be coming from the gallery. So the gallery would get a cut, and then based on that, then they could pay the artist. And then we would have other QR codes, if the artist just wants to get the sales directly to them. And for the e-commerce, for the ads and all of that, I think it's important to, do some storytelling and, do newsletters, make sure that your website is, SEO optimized, Pinterest. I think we're gonna have to start with that, things that are not, very expensive at the beginning, and seeing how that grows, then we could maybe add more budget to the marketing. Because I think, that's essentially, it's marketing, right? Because you're gonna create a website, nobody knows about it, and then you want people to go to it, right? So it's a marketing strategy, and then we'll see how we can adjust along the way.
Yeah, and to start with, we wouldn't need necessarily to do global advertisement. We have done smoke tests before here for other projects, and with a small budget, we could manage. So in the beginning, looking at the cruise ship tourists and etc., we could start targeting those with a smaller budget.
Great, thanks.
How are you going to ensure that you protect the artist's work? So someone can just go online, see it, screenshot it, and then print it themselves.
So it would definitely be a lower quality, so that they couldn't reproduce the art. It could be a watermark, on the product page to ensure that would not happen. Because there are so many companies that exist already, Artsy, for example, but that's blue chip artists, right? So you need to be backed by a gallery. You need to be very famous. The art is displayed on their websites, but they do have, things in place where you wouldn't be able to just screenshot it and reproduce it.
Yeah, and on the websites, you have really small pixels. So we tested it. You really need a good pixels on the picture to be able to print it on a big size, on a big format.
Thank you, Alessandro and Fernando. Next to the stage, we have Empowerability Solutions, where innovation empowers ability, by Dr. Eustache Placide.
Good morning. My name is Eustache Placide, and the problem we're trying to solve is a missing bridge between education and special needs students. Too many special needs students leave high school or elementary school being unprepared with no path to go. So what we're proposing is, we have a statistic that is very concerning. 80% of young adults with disability are either unemployed or underemployed, and that is from the United States. Right here in the Cayman Islands, the National Disability Policy and Cayman Inclusion support the same issue, unemployment, underemployment for students with disability. We have reviewed 15 schools from the Cayman Islands. What we find out that none of them use technology like VR or assistive technology to train those students with special needs. What that means, those students are not prepared for the real world. And also, there's no bridge for them to independence. We plan to change that. Meet Sarah, bright, capable, full of future. What we found out that Sarah, after high school, was left behind. No job training, no job placement, and nowhere to go, no future. She discovered, with the use of assistive technology, AI and VR, she discovered a passion for creative design. Sarah designed the logo that you see on the screen. Sarah was one of my students. Sarah now lives in the United States and is running a successful business in visual art. We want to create thousands of students like Sarah. Our solution is very simple, tech-driven. We're going to be using AI-powered learning, where we're going to create specialized program for special needs students. We use virtual reality simulation in the lab so the student can actually practice in a safe environment, where once they complete the training, we can place them with an employer. We'll use assistive technology where any type of special needs will be applied to use the system. Now, somebody say, this is very impressive. Well, yes, it is. We want to create the gap, eliminate the gap by 50% in 5 years. So how do we want to do that? We're going to partner with schools. We're not going to change their curriculum, but what we want to do is enhance their curriculum by providing technology into their program. Those technology will use AI to actually change their curriculum. We will use a pilot program. The cost to train one student is $2,371. That includes licenses, the software, and the hardware. We'll go a step further. We'll take the training to your living room. If you have a student or you have a kid, a friend who has special needs, they can use the device to train them at home. Our product, AI personalized learning module, right? If you have a special needs, we design the program just to fit your need after we do our assessment. We'll do VR job simulation. Currently, we are in discussion with a number of companies who agree that they will accept or they will take the student that we train. We're going to deliver this thing to school in partnership. Government, we're going to make sure that they are all involved and invest into the training. We will expand this to Jamaica. We'll go to Caribbean and beyond. You notice here that we have all this assistive technology that we design that we will be used, those platforms, to actually train those students. We are seeking funding because when we're looking at inclusion, it needs investment. If you are a school, let's partner. If you are a community leader, help us amplify. This is inclusion in action. Empowerability solution, empowering ability one student at a time. The time is now. Let's close the gap. Remember Sarah. One of you here might know a Sarah. One of you here might have a family who know a Sarah. I know her. I know all those Sarah because I taught them. They were in my class. And this is one issue that is close to my heart. We can't fail these students anymore. This is the time that we change the way things are done for special needs students. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, we're all better off when people like you focus on this problem. So so thank you. Yeah, really cool presentation and a huge problem to solve. Maybe if you could just talk through a couple more examples of what are some of the disabilities and challenges. You know, it looks like you're using VR. Perhaps you're looking to get someone into retail. It's a training gap you're solving. Maybe just if you can give another example or two of another Sarah.
Well, we have some example right now. One of my godchild is a special needs student, and he's being trained firsthand using assistive technology for the retail industry. So what we did, I can't call the name of the company. So we go to the company, we tell them exactly, tell us what your needs are. They told us the needs, and then we use the VR and AI using a 360 camera, record it, and train them exactly what to do. Another thing that we've done with him, he's living from north side to downtown. We went there, follow the path, record the step, and he will show. For example, how to change a hard drive on a computer. These are the steps that you will do. Once it is created, it goes to the training using a video. After the video is seen, now we put the VR on them. You can see him picking up the object, using the screwdriver, turn it and show the actual step to create or change the hard drive. That's example that we've done.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, hopefully government funding is part of the journey here, and obviously we can all support local businesses that participate in these programs. So yeah, thank you. Great.
Thank you. But also to follow up, one thing we found out that by the school that we have talked to them, 100% of them say the main issue that they have is funding, whether it's private, whether it's public. There's a big difference, a big gap in funding those institutions.
Well done. Yeah, another really elegant approach to a real problem and a vital problem. Yeah, well done. Really well presented. I'm just want to ask about the kind of the business, the profit, the revenue model. Like, where do you see the kind of revenue stream for this in terms of a private business? How do you see this kind of generating revenue? It lends itself obviously well to funding. And you can see a lot of kind of good public and social good. But, you know, if you're trying to design this as an individual private entity, how do you see the revenue being generated out of this?
Well, there's two things here. One is, let's keep in mind, the main idea there is to make a change in Caymanian life or with students with special needs. Now, if you're looking at a return of investment, what we found out that if we train 100 students, there's a return of $107,000 that you're going to back on the return of investment. How are we going to make that money? We're going to license the content, right? So you cannot use the contents unless you pay for the license. That's how we make money. The more students that we train, the more revenue that we're going to earn as a business.
Very good.
I'll ask another then. Are you currently working, I know you probably can't name names, but are you currently working with businesses? And obviously you've got deep experience by the sounds of it on the individual side. Have you been talking with local businesses about partnering? And are you getting the support you need on that front?
We have three industries. We have retail, we have tourism, that we're talking about business, and they guarantee us 100% that once we train those students, they will hire them for us.
That sounds great. Well done. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I had one last question. So a lot of your product is going to be using VR to train these students, right? Have you done any surveys or looked at the market to show that they're receptive to that sort of training, that they like learning through VR?
Well, one thing we found out that 100% of parents feel that their student or their kids will be better off if they were trained using virtual reality. We understand the needs when it comes to VR. We can't allow not even special needs student or even myself, right? The longest that we will not allow them to use the training is hour and a half. Because after that, there's a lot of fatigue that takes place. So you have to limit the number of time or the amount of time you put them into a lab, you know, for training.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Eustache. Next to the stage, and our final presenter of the day is Ecomtric, Eco-Friendly Solutions for a Cleaner Tomorrow by Albus Amaya.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Albus Amaya, creator of Ecomtric, driving sustainable action in the Cayman Islands by providing eco-friendly alternatives to reduce single-use plastic waste. How the idea of Ecomtric came along. In college, I took a global sustainability class, and we were tasked to do a research on single-use plastic waste and use a jurisdiction that is currently facing this issue. And I chose no other than my beautiful home called the Cayman Islands. In that research, I learned that the Cayman Islands is facing a growing crisis with single-use plastic waste. How do we get here? Market barriers such as pricing and availability of sustainable options. Ecomtric looks to bring not only one solution, but 3 solutions to this problem. The first one is to do a sustainability assessment. We'll go to our potential market customers and ask them, do you have a sustainability plan for your business operations? If they say yes, great. If they don't, we'll provide a free sustainability assessment. And after this is done, we'll do an end-to-end assessment of the business operations to help us identify where single-use plastics are being used in their business. After this, we'll be looking to do an efficient internal logistics network, focusing on 4 key areas: route and delivery. Looking to use route optimization, consolidating deliveries, and outsourcing delivery. The second area will be bulk procurement, focusing on forecasting and demand planning to help us negotiate volume discounts and help us secure long-term contracts with suppliers. Our third area will be warehousing. We'll be looking to optimize warehouse layout, consolidate shipments, and outsourcing warehousing. Our final one will be technology integrations. We'll use technology to help us keep reducing costs in these 3 areas and to help us identify new areas where we could reduce costs, drive up the profitability for Ecomtric, and pass down the cost reductions to businesses. Our third solution will be international supply chain partnerships. Right now, the current supply chains in Cayman Islands for eco-friendly alternatives is very limited, leaving businesses with higher prices and limited options. How do we fix this? Strategic supply chain partnerships. Identifying jurisdictions who's facing the same issue of single-use plastic waste, but have deployed their manufacturing capabilities to provide eco-friendly alternatives to the market. This solution could be easily expanded to other jurisdictions like the Cayman Islands who are facing the issue of limited supply chains. This will help us increase volume and give us the leverage to negotiate product discounts with the suppliers. Market assessment. We have done a market assessment on the initial products that are currently being used in the market by 300 plus customer base. These products are currently offered by our market competitors, but their products are not meeting the quality standards and they're not cost effective. Ecomtric can offer the same products with better quality and offer up to 30% of discounts to the same products. Financial highlights, everyone's favorite, right? Financial highlights here will have an initial investment of $200,000, which will help us cover the cost of the expenses that comes with the 3 solutions that have been presented to you today. We have also added a revenue and net profit chart here, but this is for the second year. As the first year, we'll be focusing on implementing the solutions that have been presented today. We have broken it down by market share. We have done by 5 to 15% market share. By 5% having a revenue of $240,000 and a net profit of $120,000. In the 10% market share, we have identified a revenue of $360,000 with a net profit of $180,000. And with a 50% market share, we have identified revenue of $720,000 with a net profit of $378,000. So ladies and gentlemen, this is my presentation. Shall we wait till the Cayman Islands government ban single-use plastics and let the businesses face these market barriers and by themselves, or shall we implement the ready-to-go solutions that we have presented today to help them overcome those barriers? Thank you.
I can start it off. So we're on the financial highlights page, right? These look like pretty high margins to me, right? And in your last slide, you said you were going to give like a 30% discount on competitors. I guess I'm curious, how are you going to be able to do that and sustain these high margins? And also, how do you do that in the beginning? Because I'm assuming that's going to be predicated on volume, right? So how do you get that volume right off the bat and give that discount while maintaining these margins?
That's where the sustainability plan will come in. We'll help to identify how much product of certain businesses using, get the quantity of that, and then we'll be able to negotiate with the suppliers, because currently we've talked to suppliers, and the more volume that they're manufacturing, the more discounts that they provide. So we'll be able to secure with most suppliers a 20 to 40% discount on certain products.
And you're going to buy in bulk like right away and have an upfront cost, I guess. And, you know, if you do buy in bulk, how do you know your customers will kind of be there and be able to buy that right away and not have excess inventory sitting there?
We'll speak to them, and they'll have to make a commitment of a sales contract.
Okay.
Because one of the biggest issues that we'll face is leaving the product on standby. So we'll have to speak to the potential customer and said, well, you use this much a month, we're able to provide it to you. But if you don't use it, we'll be able to like storage it for you, but make sure that you'll be able to use it next week. Or the discounts, the discount offerings will go off the table.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, great presentation, and another problem that's near and dear to all our hearts on the island. You know, a lot of this rests on a consolidation of the supply chain. Is it currently quite fragmented? Is that what you're saying? Are the hotels and restaurants solving this individually? And by the consolidation, are you able to bring a price that's more competitive to them and more compelling to those, like my favorite restaurant that I will remain unnamed, that refuses to come off polystyrene? Like, how do you balance that and the cost and the consolidation?
So we've spoken to 3 major hotels on island, and they don't want to deal with the supply chain. They want someone who does that for them. And they have explained to me that they're not really looking to compete with anyone, but they're just looking to someone to supply them a better price than the certain current market competitors have right now in the market.
And do you think the laggards on the island in terms of unsustainable products are cost driven or other? Like, do you think you'll be able to convince some of those that are still using heavy single use? Is it cost driven?
Yeah, it is cost driven. We actually spoke to businesses that are currently using styrofoam. They don't want to come up simply because of the cost. So when I did a little initial assessment of their business, they provided me with the exact numbers, and I said, here's how much I can offer to you, but you have to commit to this if you really want to make that sustainable transition.
And what is the delta currently between, let's say, a large scale restaurant here or a hotel, if they were using polystyrene or styrofoam, and Ecomtric? How much more would it be for the, like percentage wise, would it be for the eco-sustainable products?
So can you repeat that, the first part?
The cost-wise, the cost delta between if they're using single-use, non-sustainable products and what you think you can get sustainable products in their hands for. Is it 10% more, 20% more?
It's about 30%.
Okay.
40%, yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Do you see that coming down over time?
Yes, and that's where the sustainability assessment will do. The more volume that we could get, the lesser cost from the manufacturing, and consolidating the shipments from the manufacturing to not spend too much, because we can't control costs such as custom duties, shipping. So that's where our volume discounts our volume forecasting will come to say we'll need 15 containers for our market right now. So we'll be able to just keep those costs at one instead of having multiple shipments coming in at one time.
Great. Well, good luck. It's a problem that needs solving. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, well done. Yeah, good job. Yeah, just echo his points. So yeah, well identified problem, good solution. Yeah, I think that the cost basis, like you've identified, and the free kind of assessment is the way you're going to tackle the problem. I think it's just a couple of angles that you might consider. Is obviously government and regulation, and so if you can get that kind of on your side and that becoming like an imperative for businesses to act in this way, I think that could introduce some additional viability. There's also, because we're marketing, there's a lot of these kind of promotional items and shipments like this. There are domestic companies and foreign companies where people will buy 20, 50,000, say, fans or charging blocks or various things. And so I think if you attack maybe that angle where there's already kind of mass purchasing going on, and then you can kind of introduce that into kind of your model. That might be a way of you tackling that kind of volume issue, is when you look at voluminous products that are already being purchased. And yeah, it's both kind of a regulatory thing through the government and then also kind of the emotional level through the connection to the actual problem that, you know, you've seen research we've talked about, that it's actually something that people care about locally. So it's just a way of looking at the volume issues you might get into the cost basis of how you go after your customers.
Thank you. Take this mic off now.
All right, thank you, Albus, and a huge congratulations to all of today's teams for their outstanding pitches. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it one more time for all of the competitors today. Now, in addition to today's presentations, each team submitted a detailed competition pack for the judges to review as part of the scoring process. Winners of the Innovation Award, Community Impact Award, Sustainability Award, and the coveted Project of the Year will be announced on the Enterprise Cayman social media channels on Monday, April 7th, so be sure to follow at Enterprise Cayman on all these social media challenges and also the channels generally. It is now time for you, the audience, and viewers alike to have your say and vote on the People's Choice Award, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Use the QR code displayed on your program or on the screen now to access the voting poll. Our live stream viewers will have received the link to vote by email. Once you've opened the poll, select who you think has the best business idea. While you're casting your votes for the People's Choice Award, I'd like to take a moment to invite someone very special to the stage. Alyssa Manderson, Enterprise Cayman's Program Manager. Alyssa has been the driving force behind the scenes, pouring her heart into every detail of this year's competition, from coordinating workshops, sponsors, and mentors to supporting each finalist on their journey. Her dedication, creativity, and passion for empowering Cayman's next generation of innovators have truly brought this program to life. Please join me in welcoming Alyssa to the stage as she presents our finalists with their certificates for completing the 2025 Cayman Islands Business Design Competition. And now we say congratulations, Brandon McBride and Amelia Kemp, for their project, Assess Mind. Instant online dyslexia assessments by expert tutors. Congratulations, Kenneth Adumekwe, for his project, Blockchain IDV, Identity Verification Innovation through Blockchain Technology. Congratulations, Bahadur Lal, for his project, Statemate, AI-driven financial reporting for effortless US GAAP compliance. Congratulations, Emanuela Pasaniti, for her project, Alex, your customizable AI for mind and emotional well-being. Congratulations, Michael Staniwicz, for his project, Cognizant Learning, revolutionizing education through AI-driven personalized learning. Congratulations, Aliyah General, for her project, Fast Savings, a local bartering app where commerce meets culture. Congratulations, Shannon Hill and Ladine Kelly, for their project, Chip In, Smart Payments for Shared Moments. Congratulations, Alexandra Anzik and Fernando Dornelis for their project, The Sunny Collective, where Caribbean art meets the world. Congratulations, Dr. Eustache Placide for his project, Empowerability Solutions, where innovation empowers ability. And congratulations, Albis Amaya, for his project, Ecomtric, eco-friendly solutions for a cleaner tomorrow. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, one more time, a big round of applause for our 2025 Cayman Islands Business Design Competition competitors. So as we close the poll for the People's Choice Award, we'd now like to take the opportunity to capture the moment with a group photo. So at this time, we'd like to welcome Charlie to join us on the stage for the photo, and as we get ready to announce the winner of the People's Choice Award. Thank you. And so now it's about that time for us to announce the People's Choice Award. I would now like to welcome to the stage to announce the People's Choice Award recipient, Cayman National Bank's Conan Hill, Vice President, International Premier Banking.
Good afternoon, everybody. It takes my honor to announce the People's Choice Award. The winner of the 2025 Cayman Islands Business Design Competition People's Choice Award is Chipin.
So Chipin, you are the winners of the People's Choice Award for this year's Cayman Islands Business Design Competition. And so we'll just do another photo with Mr. Hill just in the middle. Presenting. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations to Chipin, Shannon Hill, and Lodine Kelly, this year's People's Choice Award winners. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I'd like to say a special thank you for joining us today for the 2025 Cayman Islands Business Design Competition. Please be sure to follow at Enterprise Cayman on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, where we'll be announcing the competition winners on Monday. Have a wonderful afternoon, and congratulations to all our finalists. Thank you.